Hello, good evening. Welcome to State of Affairs. My name is Nana Abba Anamwa. This program is streaming live on the internet at gh1tv.com. Well, tonight, as you've been reading around and seeing all the posters and the flyers, I spoke to former President John Kumkwufuor a couple of days ago, and he shared his thoughts on a number of things, including the economy, the management of the social intervention programs he instituted and successfully implemented. Also, he'll be talking about the massive investment in infrastructure the NDC claims. Well, tune in. Of course, you're tuning into the show, and so we'll be bringing you that interview in a few minutes. Before then, download the EIB Election Hub app. There, you'd have a countdown to the number of days left before we hit the polls later this year. I think as you saw on the screen a few minutes ago, 121 days more to the elections. It counts with the number of minutes and seconds left as well. Also, there's the opinion poll. You should download the app, participate. If you don't want to download it, it's also still on your PCs and other devices. And Nana Akufo-Addo is still leading President Mahama on that opinion poll with 11,550 votes. So if you haven't voted as yet, we want you to download the app and vote as soon as you can. Now, here is the opinion poll results if you haven't seen it as yet. Welcome back. Before we bring you that interview with former President John Kumkwufuor, the Electoral Commission says it is set to outline modalities to delete the over 56,000 NHIS registrants in the voters' register. In a statement signed by the Deputy Chair, Georgino Pokwamankwa, the EC noted that it welcomes the specific directives given by the Supreme Court on Tuesday, July 5, regarding those who registered as voters in 2012 using NHIS cards as evidence of citizenship. The statement further noted that the EC is taking the appropriate steps to comply with the court's directives and would inform the public by next week. The announcement will also outline the modalities for the exhibition of the 2016 Provisional Voters Register, which is scheduled to start on July 18 in all polling centers across the country. All right, so coming up now is my interview with former President John Kumkwufuor. We are in July. How has 2016 been for you? How would you describe 2016 so far?
So we are mid-year.
Yes, mid-year.
Mid-year, the first half, I believe, has been quite challenging. For all of us in Ghana, we were hoping by now we would be seeing the back of Doomsaw. Unfortunately, the problem keeps bouncing back. And because of that, we see that electricity supply for industry and for also domestic uses hasn't been quite stable, affecting production, affecting employment, affecting cost of living, and life has been quite severe. And then, of course, the unpredictable weather patterns because of climate change. So it's been quite challenging the first half of the year.
Okay. When people say that we are in this crisis, the energy crisis, because previous administrations or previous governments did not take bold decisions, how does that make you feel? Because you were there for 8 years.
I take that as just political talk. 8 years should be long enough for anybody with solutions to show. And the current regime has been in power 8 years almost. So if we are not having the solutions, we shouldn't accept shifting of blame onto earlier regimes.
Okay. Now, I mean, you're a statesman, and a lot of people admire you for the kind of service and dedication you're showing to this country after leaving office. How do you combine the hectic schedule of being a statesman and your commitments abroad? Because I want to believe that you get invited to international events and summits. How do you combine it, life after presidency?
I presume I get the invitations to go abroad because of the description you've given me, statesman. They say charity begins at home, and I must have served well in Ghana, and it's because of that that I get the invitations to go out. So I don't find the combination exacting. No, it comes naturally.
Do you miss being in office sometimes?
No, I believe I left office feeling quite fulfilled. I had a very long period in public service. I started in my 20s and ended exactly on my 70th birthday. And if I'm not satisfied with that, then nothing would satisfy me. So I think I'm all right.
Okay. Now, we'll come back to politics and then yourself later. I want us to focus on Africa for a bit. There are many who say that Africa has been rising. There was a time when everyone thought that, yes, it's the beacon of hope. Things were changing in the right direction. But there are some who also still think that we are not getting the right leadership on the continent. Hence, the problems several countries on the continent continue to face.
I believe leadership everywhere, and I'm speaking not only of Africa, but the whole world. Leadership is the pivot around which everything else revolves. So wherever there's a failure or deficit of leadership, expect to have challenges or crises. And so in this regard, Africa is no exception. But around the world, generally, somehow the perception is that Africa, and in fact, the former Prime Minister of Britain said it, that Africa was the last frontier of human development. And so because of that, and especially into the modern times of globalization, where the world is moving, changing so fast, we are all concerned, especially stakeholders, that Africa should find its rightful place in the movement of the world into globalization. And for Africa to find its place, proper place, befitting place, we should get the right leadership. Africa is a big continent of many countries, over 50 countries. And not all of us are of uniform background. Some perhaps are more developed than others. So if we want to sense some uniformity of the entire continent moving in the right direction, then we would say perhaps we should have across the board a certain quality of leadership that is aware of the trends of the world and also of the forces that are moving transformation of the world. So it would lead the countries of the continent with vision and purpose. So the continent as a whole would sort of leapfrog into the right niche of the global arrangements.
When you watch the news and you see trends in some African countries, does it break your heart?
I don't want to specify any country in this regard, but naturally, we are still beset as a continent with all the drawbacks you can think of, if it's conflict, if it's disease, if it's poverty, unemployment, everything, drought, everything. We see it around us on our continent. And naturally, as an African, I feel heartbroken anytime I see, and unfortunately, the media thrive on sensationalism. And so they want to show all these negatives. And anytime you turn on telly and you see these things happening, naturally, as an African, I get depressed.
And how do you feel when people say that the AU has failed?
AU hasn't failed. I don't agree with that. AU is a very young thing. And I've told you, Africa is huge. I think it's about the second or third biggest continent on the planet, of many countries, of diverse backgrounds. This time around, not so much of liberation from colonialism and, say, apartheid and domination by other peoples, but to share a vision of how we can develop economically and socially. And it's just a bit over 10 years. And to expect that within the 10 years, there will be such dramatic changes is a bit too idealistic. And I'm a pragmatist. And I don't agree that AU is failing. It's doing well. In fact, it's prescribing that African nations should give themselves leaderships that the people have chosen constitutionally through the ballot box. To the extent that it even prescribes, or proscribes, I should use the word, proscribes, coup making. Anybody who would assume power by force, like used to be just 2-3 decades ago, that person should be sort of banned from taking part in activities of the union. That's, I believe, quite a dramatic and almost revolutionary step for a continent to take. It also prescribes partnerships, because Africa should not pretend to be inventing its own wheel of development. So it prescribes partnerships both from within and outside Africa, so we can leapfrog. We're coming by the technologies that we may not have, coming by capital for investment. Of course, always knowing how to negotiate with partners, and also for us to set the framework that would attract the investments we need to do the infrastructure, to create wealth. People talk of reducing poverty. I do not subscribe to that. I would rather talk of creating the wealth, because I don't believe you fight poverty with poverty. Rather, you need wealth to conquer poverty. And we've got all the natural resources. And I believe that even the human stock to generate the wealth for us to pull ourselves out of the many difficulties confronting us. And I believe AU is showing awareness of all these things and helping set the framework, and also use the regional groupings we have, ECOWAS, SADC, and so forth and so on, to tackle the challenges. So AU, I believe, is all right. Okay.
One of your many legacies, I mean, if anyone is to outline, is when you decided to avail yourself first to the APRM. Do you have memories of it? Do you still remember that day?
It's quite some time ago, but I was so confident that our government was doing it right by the people of Ghana. And so I didn't think there was anything to hide. So when the African Union again devised the APRM, African Peer Review Mechanism, as a way to measure quality of governance in our countries. And some people suspected there could be unforeseen blocks in the path of any nation. I said, no, Ghana should take the step. And that's how we put Ghana forward, because we thought there should be transparency in governance. And so this is, and I haven't regretted.
After so many years, would you say that the APRM has been effective? Very little is actually heard.
Ghana was first, and to have submitted itself. I believe second was, is it Rwanda, and then Kenya. I think it was getting to the turn of Kenya to be peer-reviewed when the troubles broke out. I think 2007, 2008. And that stalled the process. But I hope the countries have come back together. And as of now, I believe there are as many as 30 countries on the continent which voluntarily submit for the peer review mechanism. That's some way. it might take some time for us to get anywhere near perfection, but I believe we are in the right direction.
Okay, I want to go through some of your achievements while in office. The first will be the introduction and successful implementation of some social intervention programs that the country continues to enjoy when you were in office. Would you say that these programs are being executed the way you wanted to see it after a number of years? For instance, the school feeding program, the capitation grants, the NHIS. Are you happy, impressed with the way it's being run?
Let me be fair from scratch. Okay. If you are asking me to mark myself,
I'm not asking you to.
That's what you are doing. Then naturally I would say I'm tops, but that might not be fair. But listening around, it looks like there's still a lot of room for improvement. And things haven't continued the way we envisioned they would continue in the implementation of these programs. If you remember, before 2001, the policy in the country with regards to healthcare was called cash and carry. It really portrayed the very smart mentality the Ghanaians have got a sense of, sometimes wicked sense of humor. Cash and carry. For healthcare, meaning if you do not have money, you die. That's what it was. And so we introduced the National Health Insurance Scheme. I know there's a lot of debate, people wanting to deny us the credit, the government credit for doing it. Before we launched it, I believe it was the Catholic Church that had done something in Nkranza, and I believe somewhere around Damongo. It was just a community service, but they were doing it successfully. So our government got inspired by that, and then we sent out some experts to other countries that seem to be doing it in East Africa, and I think then there was a measure of it in Zimbabwe also. We sent people out to study and then to come and advise, and it was from that we formulated the policy and launched it. But even as we speak, there are still people in Ghana who would say, for political reasons, say, no, it wasn't done by NPP, it was done by NPP, I can assure you. And we really moved the country out of the cash and carry thing. On an affordable premium. You'd remember it was 2008, a party suggested they would pay just one premium for life. How would you run an insurance policy on just a premium?
The one-time premium.
One-time premium. It means they didn't share in the vision, nor would they even understand the mechanics of launching or working the program. So naturally, there's been a stalling and near slump in the implementation of the health insurance scheme, but it's still, at least, if you like, tottering along. We hope it will regather steam under right leadership, because it must come to stay. And hopefully, Ghanaians will see the difference in the near future. The capitation grants was, yes, prescribed by Constitution, but at least it took our government to launch it. Perhaps other governments wouldn't have been able to do it, but we did it. And that too has come to stay. The other thing is the school feeding. That was not prescribed by Constitution. Again, it became a thing of the times. We saw that school enrollment in the poorer parts of the country was low. And we wanted, especially the girl child, to be retained in school, to be kept in school till maturity. For a girl from our culture and backgrounds, age 14, 15 would be the age of puberty and a bit of rights. And so we said we should keep all our girls as far as possible. So in addition to capitation grant, we introduced the school feeding to hold the children generally, but more so the girl child, in schools. So parents wouldn't have the excuse of, say, taking them out to go and either do kaya year or petty trading to supplement incomes. And truly, when we introduced that, enrollment jumped within the first year or so by a huge percentage. And it's necessary that this policy is really maintained and even improved upon by successive regimes in the country. Further, since we were introducing the school feeding program, we were thinking of nutrition and also economic support, because the people preparing the meals for children were supposed to be the mothers, who otherwise might not have much to do. And they would be paid for the services, and they would use foodstuffs, local foodstuffs, not imported food. So there was a cyclical impact, economic impact, to move the economy, especially in the rural parts of the country. So all these things we introduced, not for petty politics, not for short-term gain. We were taking long-term view of things. And we hope successive regimes would sustain these policies for the good of Ghana as a whole.
Another thing was the repeal of the criminal libel law.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not too sure that you're a radio buff. You listen to radio and watch television a lot. But there are some who think that the freedom of speech that the media has been blessed with is being abused these days. There's a general lack of irresponsibility on our airwaves. You know, the media is allowing just about anybody to sit in front of cameras and in front of microphones, and they spew all sorts of things. Recently, I don't know if you've been following the news, some panelists who went into a diatribe, threatened judges. What do you make of the media landscape?
As much as I would condemn anybody committing excesses and abusing rights, I would be the last person to say because of that, this law should be reinstated. No. The motto of our nation, Ghana's national motto, is freedom and justice. And you can't say people are free when they are, in a way, denied freedom of thought and of expression. And how do you express yourself? Yes, you may use perhaps dance forms, but centrally, you would have to speak. So let the people speak. Only let them be responsible. Let them have a sense of responsibility. And this is where the justice bit comes in. If you exceed your freedom of expression, there should be the law to deal with you. You talk of the laws of libel and so forth and so on. Let those things work. The solution to the excesses does not lie in zipping the expressiveness of the media. You are media people. I'm not a buff in sense of being a media person, but I believe I know the uses of the work of the media. And again, I don't regret, even though we've been at the butt of some of the abuses and falsehoods and so forth and so on. You see, when you've caged any being, I was going to say any animal, but when you descend even to the lower animals, you cage any animal, like say a goat, for some time, and then free it, and you see the reaction. Immediately, they will jump out of the cage, run by helter-skelter, till they find their balance, and then they slow down and behave normally. If the lesser beings would do that, what do you expect of humans? So when the country had suffered the zip of the mouth for so long, the colonial authorities introduced that law to zip the media. And then successive regimes after independence continued with that. So there wasn't criticism. Everybody lived in fear of authority. And fortunately, we had suffered opposition. When I say we, I'm talking of my side of the political divide. Suffered opposition for so long, with harsh consequences for some even losing their lives in detention without trial, for not even being abusive to people in authority, but just expressing differences of opinion. We got chance, we said no, get that law off the statute books. And it was the first law we repealed. And naturally, when we repealed it first, within a short space of time, we saw a mushrooming of FM stations, newspapers, and unfortunately for us, most of them turned their guns on us. So some people even came to say, you see what you've done, the consequences? See how these people are abusing freedom of speech. And say, let's take it easy. See, when we've been caged for so long and we are freed, what do you expect? The first reactions would be for us to go like crazy, but in due course we'd find stability. But the stability would come with the application of the laws that would, again, instill responsibility, sense of responsibility across the board for all of us. If you go shoot your mouth where you shouldn't shoot, and say you are summoned before the Supreme Court or some High Court or that for discipline, the rest of us, we learn that perhaps there should be limits to expression. Or if you go and slander or libel or defame another person, and they take you to court, and then the court imposes a damage that would break you economically, the rest of us would learn. A time would come when we live and allow others to live in decency and in normalcy. Okay. So this is the way for us to learn.
Okay. Now my last batch of questions will focus on the elections. In a busy election year like this, I'm sure you do remember what you were doing in 2000 and in 2008 and how you had to crisscross the country. In a busy election year like this one, what kind of message would you give to political communicators as they try to win votes?
Well, elections, if they are genuine, are competitive. And in any race, there's rivalry, and so necessarily there's tension. When tension brews, it's not everybody that can take tension in their stride easily. So some lose balance and they begin to talk out of turn, and but the whole idea of constitutional democracy is that society would use its power. Now, let me say it here now, that I believe in the sovereignty of the individual. And that's what I believe the Ghana Constitution also means. We all as individuals, and since we are committed to democracy as our Constitution prescribes, Constitution that we promulgated, it wasn't imposed by anybody. We went into referendum to promulgate it. The sovereignty is with the individual. But then, for governance, we are a very populous nation. It's not all of us that can go into, say, Jubilee House, that is now called Flagstaff House, to serve as president. Not all of us can go into Parliament House to sit. So we use the representative mechanism. And thankfully, our vote is supposed to be secret. How I would vote is a matter that only my conscience and that of my God, all-knowing God, that would know. It's not anybody's business. So if that's the case and we all subscribe to this, and I want your vote because I want to represent you, I need to convince you that when you give me that power of yours, that's your vote, I'll go and work to better your lot. I shouldn't come with either sharp teeth, as we heard some time ago, or a cudgel to knock you on the head, or to threaten, or to abuse a judiciary. No, that's not how to do it, just to extract the vote from you. We should show orderliness. we should show that we are enlightened as a society, and that the whole thing is about convincing ourselves to use our votes with wisdom and with purpose, a sense of purpose, so as to put in place a government that would come to serve. We want servant leaders to come and serve us, so collectively we get the sort of society in which all of us can live, truly to fulfill the motto of the nation again, freedom and justice. But the way we carry on just in face of elections because we are competing, a lot of times leaves so much to be desired. It would seem as if we do not understand the uses of an election. The whole idea is for us to queue in an orderly way, to cast a vote on an individual basis, and then at the end of the day, count should show who should become our president or who should become our member of parliament, or even when we go lower down, assemblyman or whatever. Of course, since we are a human society, the human factor tends to be unpredictable many a time. So the arbiter overseeing the orderliness and fairness of the process, which is the Electoral Commission, should be truly committed to the people, to serve its role in such a way across the board we'll all feel that it's been truly impartial, transparent.
Are you seeing that so far from the EC?
Well, there's a lot of argument going on now, and it's not something that has come instantaneously. There's history to it. In the past, things haven't been too equal to expectation. And because of that, a lot of suspicion has been left in the system. And so everything should be done by the current Electoral Commission to eradicate the suspicions in a fair way, in an enlightened way, in the people, so the people would support it and its onerous responsibility of ensuring the country is well served.
Okay. I'm not sure if you've been monitoring the president's accounting to the people tour, but the NDC seem to think that they've invested massively in infrastructure and the NPP has no message at all as we go into this election.
This is why sometimes people say politics is a game. Politics is far from game. It's a serious matter. But into political electioneering, there's what's called campaigning. And you go around in many places, even in the so-called developed parts of the world, there's a lot of fanfare to it. Some would go with brass bands and a lot of drinking and eating and fashion and so forth and so on. And in the period, except when people are committing excesses in traducing and portraying falsehoods about others, except those times, you allow a sort of some room to the politician to talk about this is policy. If it's policy, let the people see it, and eventually the people will decide. NPP would also go and also say there has been a failure of policy. It's not just the past 8 years. Before NPP came into office, it was NDC in office. Let us even begin from 92, when we started with the Fourth Republican Constitution. NDC had the first 8 years, virtually unchallenged. What did we see? How did the NPP, or why did the people give power to NPP? It was failure of policy, totally. NPP came in 8 years. Well, the next 8 years has been given to NDC. So it seems Ghana is maturing in the way it picks. NDC is in its 8th year since 2009. So if they've achieved so much, the people will show. If they've not measured up to the expectation of the people, again, come, is it 7th November, I believe the Ghanaians will show. Main thing is for us, all of us, to have a sense of limits, so we do not overshoot our mouths. We do not make it seem like we've created heaven on earth, because it hasn't happened. We are still in Dumsor, for instance. They talk of roads. I believe the Ministry of Roads shows that NPP in its time, within a space of 8 years, did more roads than has been done ever. People say no, but I'm telling you, from Nkrumah Circle all the way to Kumasi, through Kumasi, all the way, if you know Kumasi Magazine, all the way to Techimai, about 75 miles from Kumasi, all the way through Wenchi, through Bamboy to Boli, the hometown of the president himself. All that road was done within that short space of time NPP was in power. And that wasn't the only road. This is the longest stretch of road in Ghana. Within that is we did, and with top quality. Look at the George Bush Highway. NDCIC wants to share in the credits of doing that. NDC didn't contribute anything to that road, but it was done by NPP. Look at from Malam Junction all the way to Yamoransa. Look at from the circle in Tema all the way to Sagakope and Akachi. So what are people talking about? And in all the 10 regions. And so, but that's politics. So the NDC can go around and say NPP didn't do anything in its 8 years. But the other thing that people overlook, again, you are drawing me to do a bit of, I didn't want to sound like comparing, but I tell you, if you do not have a solid, stable macro economy, that's policy frameworks, the public sector frameworks, you cannot have any economic development. And NPP government took the HIPIC initiative because 2001, Ghana's economy was down and out. We were insolvent. No country would give Ghana any credit. So what did we do? We saw that unless we told the truth about the state of the economy to the international community, no donor community or creditor institution like the multilaterals would treat with Ghana. So we took the HIPIC initiative and then agreed that we would restore the macroeconomic sanity of our country, because it's on that basis the outside partners are assured that when they extended credit to us, they could hope to regain the outlays they made with us. So we did it, and we came out of that initiative in record time. You go to IMF, they will tell you, because of the disciplines. Government cutting back on excessive borrowing, both from within and from outside. Living within the budget that itself had done for the country in those times. And then helping, creating an enabling atmosphere, not overtaxing people. So investors started looking into Ghana. That's how many banks came into Ghana. But that time, 2000, the banks in Ghana didn't count to even about 10 or so. Time 2000, when Ghana had about 25 banks. And they had started competing among themselves, chasing market women and business people to come and take credit. Can you go around now, being to borrow? At what interest rate? So, and then the inflation, which was over 40%. Time 2008 we were leaving, inflation had come to 18%. Tough, but we did it. So they don't want to give us credits, like with the oil find. Yeah, you didn't do it. Kufuor didn't put oil in. Who put oil in the ground? Yes, creator. But then it takes policy. It takes making the economy attractive for people to come and look for the oil, for them to be convinced that when they invested to bring up the oil, they wouldn't be cheated out or voted out. This is how it came, and this is how Ghana found oil and gas in commercial quantity for the first time. So we let NDC talk. NPP, I believe, will also talk. And then the people will decide. As I said, the people are sovereign. Mm-hmm. It's not the government. Government is sovereign only because it is representing the people. And the people will exercise sovereignty, I believe, come November.
Right. Thank you very much, President Kufuor, for talking to us. All right, so that was former President John Agyekum Kufuor speaking to me on the holiday. That was Wednesday. And, well, I'm sure a lot of you have been following, and I can see on my timeline so many messages ranging from the issues of the NHIS to the capitation grant to the roads, and also to Ghana being insolvent in 2001 when President Kufuor and his government took over this country. Well, in the studio with me to discuss that interview is the Honorable Kwame Agboja. You're called Govans.
Yeah, my father gave me that name.
Govans.
Yes.
Interesting. All right. So Honorable Kwame Govans Agboja, Member of Parliament for Adaklu constituency, and also the Honorable Henry Kwabena Kokofo. He's the Member of Parliament for Bantama constituency. It's good to have you. It's the first time seeing you here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to have both of you here. Well, I'll start with you. Your general assessment of that interview, President Kufuor speaking to a number of issues.
Yeah. Good evening to your cherished viewers. And to the great statesman, former President J. Kufuor, I learned he's been given an award in recent times.
Just a few hours ago. He took it today.
He took it today?
Yeah.
Congratulations to him. Yeah. And it shows that it pays to put up good service, good governance, and others. Greetings to my people in Bantama. And Nana Kufuor is watching this program because I've informed him. It's in faraway Sunyane. Yes, my general impression as the girls of everybody, it's good to have former presidents staying alive and sharing their experiences with the modern day leadership or whatever, the people of Ghana, as it may be. He has enumerated a lot of points and programs.
Yes. After the other pretty soon.
So all I can say is that we thank God for his life. Likewise, any other leaders or people who have come into leadership at all levels of our societal programs and ventures. We pray to God that those of us who have come after them will learn the good attributes that they have, the good legacies that they have left, and we will continue the good work that they've started and haven't finished. So that's my impression.
Honorable Agboja, your general assessment, briefly.
Yes, thank you very much, Nana, for giving me the opportunity to share this platform with you. Good evening to your cherished viewers. Well, I think, in my view, President Kufuor is the most successful leader under the UP tradition that I know. I mean, he is, let's give it to him, a very astute politician. He knows what he wants. He took over this country from President Rawlings when, I don't know, a lot of people remember those days, electricity was, some people in parts of this country were told, you can't get electricity because you're too far from Akosombo. But under President Rawlings, all those things were almost fixed to an extent before he took over. He did what he could do, and I think he's been able to move us from where President Rawlings left us to a point. As of whether he could have done better, I would say he could have done better. Let's face it, he had his flaws. And today, yes, but today we're not talking about that. He's got an opportunity to talk to the nation about his experience, and he talked about the positive thing he thinks he's done. I mean, we must give it to him. And I think that it is appropriate for people like you once in a while, for us not to remember to forget too much. When as long as these people leave, President Rawlings, President Kufuor and co, to go back to them to share with us how they see things in their days and how they see things happening. And I think it's a positive step you've taken.
All right. First, I want us to start with the issue of roads.
Yeah.
The construction of roads.
Yeah.
He says, you heard him very well,
Yeah.
that his administration, the NPP, between 2001 and 2008, constructed more roads than this government, that the NDC has ever done.
Well, first of all, you see, we have to be careful. President Kufuor knows this argument. He probably saw this argument in Parliament. We were able to prove to NPP in Parliament that they couldn't have built 31,000 kilometers of road in 8 years because there was no contract available at the ministry or any of its agencies for 31,000 kilometers of road between 2001 and January 2009. What basically happened was they decided to redesignate the description of roads, and some, alleys that you could, things you could call alleys were redesignated to be roads and other things, and that was captured in a report by the Ministry of Road. And then NPP said that, well, the redesignation was done within their period, so those are the roads. And I keep asking them, can you give us this? We're talking about 31,000 there about road. Can you give us the one he talked about from, even if you take from Kumasi to how do you call it, to Paga? It's not even 2,000 kilometers. So where is the 31,000 roads? I mean, we have to, because children may be watching, may need to learn. NPP basically did not build 31,000 roads. Roads were designated. I know that some of the roads that President Kufuor mentioned were probably built, but if you talk about the level of road works that NPP did in 8 years and what is happening currently, and the significant nature of those roads. I'll give you one example. At a point in time, if you were to be traveling from Accra to Ho, maybe, unfortunately, one day, the Adomi Bridge was just going to cave in because for 50 years, it was there, nobody did anything about it. Those were the critical things they did. We talk about circle, talk about all those things. And many roads.
50 years. President Kufuor was in for just 8 years.
No, 50 years of Adomi Bridge being there, requiring, it doesn't have to take 50 years for it to be.
Requiring some attention.
Requiring, in fact, restoration, because
Okay.
50 years, it was the lifespan, but it expired, nobody did anything.
When did it expire?
Well, it expired within their regime. The reports, in fact, one of the, you'd be surprised, which
report was this, that the road expired?
No, that the bridge.
The bridge expired when President Kufuor was in charge.
If its life, they needed to upgrade it. In fact,
which report is this?
The report at the Ministry of Road.
And it clearly states that...
Of course, in fact, time after time, they say that checks on the bridge says that some of the cables are failing, the decking is caving in. And one of the first things I did when I went to Parliament was to make a statement on the floor of Parliament asking the government to take immediate actions to try to refurbish the bridge. Otherwise, we're all going to lose it. Thankfully, the government of John Dramani Mahama did that. I'm just basically trying to say that I respect President Kufuor very well, but I can tell him for a fact, he's probably watching, that there is no record of projects awarded by Ministry of Road or any of its agencies for 31,000 kilometers.
He didn't mention 31,000. All he said was that they had constructed more roads, and he outlined the roads.
No, he just mentioned from Accra through Kumasi, through Techiman, and then he mentioned, and I'm saying that, yes, and I'm saying that,
and he said in all 10 regions.
Yes, and I'm saying that all those roads he's mentioned, even the one stretch, is not even 2,000 kilometers, and I'm saying that I have no doubt.
How many have you constructed?
We are still building, and
so
then
do you have a figure? Because there should be a figure to compare.
Well, I don't have all the figures here, but I can tell you for a fact that we are not even at a cutoff point yet. We are still building roads in this country, and I'm just.
So you wouldn't know if you've done more than the NPP
We did.
You would know.
We did, because the figure they came up with was 31,000.
Which you doubt?
No, not doubt. There's no record. I mean, anybody can at the Ministry of Roads can come phone in and say that NPP did 31,000 road, or even it would have been better if you mentioned the length of road. But I will give you that data shortly.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that 31,000 you talk about.
I'm saying.
But
that,
you said it was
yes,
on the floor.
We have brought a road network to about. Currently, we are told that it's about 71,000 kilometers.
What you have?
No, not what we have. We have taken it to 71,000, and every day, including today, some roads are started. That is basically.
Okay, so you moved it from a certain figure to 71,000.
Yes, over 71,000.
But you don't know the figure then, before you managed to increase it to 71,000.
Well, but they were claiming that, you see, this is not. This
it's not what they claim.
No, let me tell you what happened. They are claiming that they have built 31,000 kilometers. So that record has become a record at the Ministry of Roads, in addition to whatever it was. And I'm saying that wherever it ended, we have moved it to over 71,000 kilometers today. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying that if Ghanaians want to know which roads were built under the NPP and NDC, you don't have to think far. There's one at your backyard happening now or just got finished. And every single region, for the first time in our history, is receiving a durable road, asphalting, surfacing in every single region, apart from all the other major roads that are taking place. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right. Honorable Kokofu.
Yes, I think we need to stretch the argument a little far beyond the normal that we're talking about. We are looking at a situation where Ghana is 59 years after independence and some 57 years Republican as a nation. So governments have come, successive governments and all that. And I'm happy he went to the UP tradition sort of thing and said President Kufuor is the most successful there. And I can assure him, he can easily say he is the most successful president in Ghana has ever had. 59 years. NDC plus SPNDC have a total of 27 years of that. We, the UP plus NPP, have 10.5 years of that to Ghana. If you come a little bit closer home, the Fourth Republican Ghana, 24 years. And I'm happy, I was happy the day Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama took his turn at the IEA. He had a cause to complain that 24 years of wasted time by the NDC and NPP. And he ended up maligning and then indicting the NDC government for having wasted most of our time. Under the Fourth Republican Ghana, 24 years, they've had close to 16 years. And within this span of time, they are the most luckiest government, if you like that way, with the cash inflow, having collected taxes of so much magnitude, having borrowed so much. They inherited a public debt of 9.5 billion cedis from J. Kufuor, His Excellency. They've ended up, as we speak today, our debt portfolio is around 110 billion Ghana cedis. So you can see the stretch. Then they have the opportunity, or they continue to enjoy oil, petroleum revenue.
Are we still talking about the roads?
Please. J.J. Rawlings, His Excellency's government never had the opportunity of getting oil revenue. J. Kufuor, just as you spoke to him, he enumerated how 2007 his government was able to help Ghana to strike oil in commercial quantities. He never got the opportunity. You've had so much on your hands. And the Bible says, he who much is given, much is expected. Let us come down to the rules that we're talking about. How many have you constructed so far? How many routes are there to show with all these colossal sums of money? This is a document by the government of Ghana, National Development Planning Commission. It was written December 2010. Ghana Shared Growth and Development Agenda, GSGDA, 2010-2013. you read the preamble, the background, and you come to realize that, with your permission, let me read a little bit.
Please, yeah.
In 2001, Ghana faced, and your viewers must reckon, 2001 means J. Kufuor and NPP came to power. Ghana faced a difficult situation as a result of the problems most countries around the world were facing. At that time, the government found it difficult to get enough resources it needed to carry out its activities under the Vision 2020. The government then asked the countries and groups we owed to forgive our debt through what became known as the Highly Indebted Poor Country, HIPIC initiative. The purpose was to allow Ghana to use the money we were supposed to pay them to carry out programs and projects that would directly reduce poverty in the country. It goes on and on to say that in order to get that, there was a GPRS-1 prepared to be implemented over the period of 2003 to 2005. The GPRS-1 was aimed at improving roads and housing, developing rural communities through agriculture, improving social services, maintaining law and order. It comes here. It says key sources under GPRS 1 and 2, because the 2 was also initiated in 2006. Because we are talking about roads, let me jump to yours. Spending to construct roads, energy and ICT increased. So this is a testimony of a government that took over from J. Kufuor.
So basically you are agreeing with President Kufuor when
Exactly.
he says that you constructed more roads.
Exactly.
How many, what stretch? I mean, give us the figure. He said they extended it from a certain figure to 71,000. He can't quite remember.
Yeah.
He said that a number of about 31,000 has been, heard on the floor of Parliament from your side.
It's not difficult to know,
Yeah.
except that I do not have offhand. But clearly, you Google, you go to the Ministry of Roads, and they have it. They've categorized it from independence up to 2001, the stretch of road that we had. And then 2001 up to 2009, the stretch of road we have, and what we have up to this point. When you do the deduction, it is easy to know exactly which period the quantum of roads were constructed. So 31,000, if he's saying yes, then it will be. The only thing that is undisputable is the fact that the NPP government within 8 years did construct more roads than any other government that we have.
Can you mention some of them, apart from what President Kufuor said?
No, you don't ask me questions here.
Well, you can answer. It's a very good question to ask. You can answer him.
Yes, of course. But then the Kumasi-Accra route.
But that's what President Kufuor mentioned.
No, he told you, or listen to
Accra,
him
Kumasi,
From Circle
Hichiman
to Kumasi.
Yes, and then...
So then, apart from that, what else can you mention?
Yeah, a lot of roads. I mean, in Kumasi itself, you come the inland roads. A lot of them were constructed. Accra here, you go to Takrade as a city, go to Sunyani, go to Tamale. Internal roads. Roads are not supposed to be the only trunk roads. Maybe you're talking about trunk roads. That even, we've done a lot. Abri, Medina Abri Road. Nobody ever thought.
Did you complete that? I think that just got completed from Accra through that just got completed recently. Please.
Medina, from Medina
the
to...
gang was part of gang of something that completed
the
recently.
Abri Road. You are telling all of us that it was not completed when we left off.
What section? Just be specific so that we know what the section you're talking about.
I mentioned upwards.
So okay, so not
that wasn't done by you.
So
up to Pedrasi.
No, because I heard him say
I
heard him mention how do you call it?
The
Medina. So that is what I'm saying.
That area was recently completed.
Yes, but it was under construction. I mean, it was part of, and funding has been sourced for all those constructions.
No. Please. Those works were GOG funded. That is why
please. So therefore,
from Circle all the way
so therefore, it's on record and you rightly said so, you go to the Ministry of Rules and you are assured to get the figures and the time frame in between which and which. So if the man himself, he was the head of government, if he's telling you, he's not bragging, he's telling you the truth.
No, he just mentioned 2 roads, and I'm saying that
he didn't
I
mention
agree.
2 roads.
No, he mentioned 2 roads.
Okay,
and
major.
Yes,
okay.
yes. You see, when we finish, if you have pen, I can start giving you what we have done and their kilometers. You have enough time so that you can add it and find out what we have done yourself.
I'm not one to do additions and subtractions. I can assure you that
Agona
you get
Junction
the
to
figure.
Elubo, 110
Thank
kilometers.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Eh?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Enough.
I am for
it's enough.
Assessor.
Okay.
Solar Fufusu.
So when you did all that
147.
all right, fine. That's fine. He can equally give
longer,
you some.
Longer than longer than what President Kufuor mentioned. Which
one is longer?
From Accra to Kumasi, he's mentioned, and I've just started mentioning.
He mentioned Accra to
Agona
Kumasi,
Junction,
Kumasi through to Techiman.
Agona Junction to Elubo, 110 kilometers.
Okay, let's talk about other things former President Kufuor raised. NHIS, he says it is tottering along. Thankfully, we've heard many on the other side claim that the NHIS has collapsed. President Kufuor does not agree that it has collapsed, but he thinks that it could actually be performing better than it is at present. I'll start with you on that one.
Yes.
I think you started the roads one.
No, he did. Right. I think the NHIS is an important social intervention.
So you give him credit for that?
No, the thing is, you see, President Kufuor is a politician. I'm telling you, there's record that in Parliament, when NHIS was being discussed under the first NDC government, the NDC government under President Rawlings, Dr. Kufuor and co kicked against it. The point is, if the thing was not in existence, if there was no preparation towards implementing it, what were they discussing in Parliament? Let's leave the history.
Okay, I will leave that out because they have brought up certain critical things about that particular plan and why they had to walk out.
Yes, so I'm saying that. I'm saying that if there was nothing in the offing, because they are saying that they brought it, completely. I'm saying that if there was nothing being prepared by the NDC government, what were they discussing in Parliament about it? That is the question.
There's one thing having a plan on paper, another thing implementing it.
Oh, well, I can tell you for a fact.
And for us, the implementation that's important.
Yes, the NHIS, the model we rolled out eventually as a country was piloted extensively before NPP came to government. If you ask me, were they the ones that, basically made it universal? Of course, they were the ones. But these are the records to start with. In 2005, when it was started, just a little bit of a small number of people. And if you notice at that time, utilization was probably less than 1 million people. And then all the money we needed to spend on NHIS at that time was just about 7 million Ghana cedis. Utilization just less than 1 million people. By 2014, over 30 million people utilization, and the wage, the bill for that was over 1 billion Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, the how do you call it? The benefit package, which is one of the things Ministry of Health is looking at now, was not meant to absorb this volume of people, because the number of people who contribute slightly less than what they should contribute to the kitty that we will all use was getting smaller and smaller. And you know the interesting thing, I remember very well, I think last year or so, when at the peak of this noise about NHIS is collapsing, when NHIS came to Parliament, when they were trying to roll out the biometric system, they brought their workers to Parliament to come and help us. Almost every single MP, including the ones, even the ones who are the medical doctors and everything, even brought their children from home to come and enroll. And I kept asking them, if this scheme was actually collapsing, why bother to bring even, not only you, bring your wife and kids to Parliament to come and enroll? Thank God, like you are saying, President Kufuor said that it is not enrolling, it's not collapsing. However, we could do certain things better. The things we could do better is to find other ways. Everybody who have studied Ghana's NHI system will tell you the problem is about finding ways to increase funding to the NHIs. It's not about politics. We need to find other ways of putting money into it. And I keep saying that I don't see why myself and my brother sitting here should benefit in a sense that when the two of us go to hospital, we don't have to pay simply because we are SNIT contributors. I think we should be able to pay from our salary because we belong to a different class of the society. We ourselves and our children should be able to do that until we can't. So the means testing that is required before people use it was removed. And I'm saying that we should go back and review those things. So I'm saying NHI is not collapsing, but everybody, including members of the Committee on Health in Parliament who are from the opposition side, know that the only way we can make this, the fund sustainable is to find other ways of funding, putting money into it, and also review the benefit package, including considering removing MPs as beneficiaries of the package, because currently, if you are a SNIT contributor, you don't have to pay. If you are a pregnant woman, you don't have to pay. If you are under 18, you don't have to pay. If you are over 60 or something, you don't have to pay. So exactly who is supposed to pay? Because I am not yet on retirement. I'm actively working. Just because I pay SNIT, I'm not supposed to pay. So exactly who is paying contribution to this? And I think that the kitty is big. The money coming into it is small. It's not politics. We have to find other ways of that. So NHI is not contributing because today somebody would have died without having access to it.
Honorable Kokofu, you think MPs should be excluded?
Well,
has he got a point?
Well, I don't know where he's coming from anyway, but voluntarily we can start doing that. You should take the lead. You see, the point here is NHIs is wearing dual cap, double cap. One, it is a social service, a social intervention service provision. And two, it is a healthcare delivery system, access to healthcare delivery, anyway, quality also as well. The New Patriotic Party and J. Kufuor talked about the vulnerable in the society, the poor, the needy in the society, in assessing healthcare delivery. And as he put it in the interview, we had a system, cash and carry. You need to go to hospital with sacks of money. You are charged before you are looked at or you are taken care of. If you do not have money, it means that's the end of you. And this is a society that we pride ourselves so much of resources, natural resources and all others. So the government sat through and thought through that it is unfair to, as it were, allow the vulnerable in the society, those below the poverty line, to just lose their lives because they do not have money to access health care. So let us do something by way of bringing in an intervention. My colleagues in Parliament boycotted the process, and they did not have an iota of belief that we are able to go to do it. So they actually said, it will not be, it cannot be. We went ahead and did it. Yes, of course, it has its beginnings and the challenges and all those things. So we thought we would be growing as we coming out. Then come 2008, it became a heavy political issue, campaign issue. Our colleagues were trumpeting, Kufuor is a wicked man, you are paying premium every year on this scheme. We can afford that you pay only one-time premium. That was the promise. And that we're going to make it universal. And that a whole lot of promises impregnated in there. Now, my brother keep on saying, President Kufuor is saying it is no collapse. I don't think President Kufuor, maybe you want, he did not say it is collapsed. You wanted to know if it is collapsed.
No, I didn't say that. He said it's just tottering along.
Tottering along?
Yeah.
Along. So it's collapsing. You wanted to know whether he agrees it's collapsed.
Well, tottering along doesn't mean that it is collapsing.
Yeah, but there's two different issues
Yeah.
here. One you say it's collapsed.
It hasn't collapsed.
No, it has not.
Okay.
But it is collapsing. Evidence is available. GMA, Ghana Medical Association, they went on their annual conference in Bogatanga about 2 months ago, and they came out with a communique that the NHIS is collapsing, and that we are getting back to the cash and carry system. And they gave countless examples. Service providers are indebtedness to their suppliers because the scheme is owing so much to service providers. We had it in the Dalis reported that hospitals in Volta region had resorted not to take the NHI cars. I hope you are aware. In 2nd, it was reported. Go to. Then what broke the camel's back for those of us in the Ashanti region was the introduction of the so-called capitation. And that worsened the situation for us.
Is that not why he comes in with the argument that we should define those who can benefit from NHIs? Because he thinks some people will be able to afford it, really. Like you.
Nanaba.
Yes, sir.
They are in government. The spotlight is on them. They are the policy.
So they should be innovative.
They are the policy initiators. They should be innovative. They cannot cry more than you and I. We have to complain. We have to. They have absolutely no reason to complain. Okay. The resources are with them. Let them come up with policies that they think can strengthen the NHIS. What they have done was the capitation, and it is collapsing the whole scheme. And evidence avails. The service providers are crying. They are heavily indebted.
For your information, capitation is not only in Ashanti region, as we speak.
Right.
Please.
It's in Volta region. Region.
After 3 years piloting in Ashanti region.
Quickly, so I can take a break.
So the point here is, yes, we all do agree that the NHIS policy is something that is good for the people. So as governments and as leaders in leadership, we should be forward-looking. We cannot backtrack. For all intents and purposes, one can describe NHIS, and he's talking about funding. I agree with him. What has happened with the fencing of the funding that comes from the VAT revenue? 2.5% is supposed to go to the NHIS fund. No. Please. What is happening is it goes into the central kitty.
The consolidated.
The consolidated fund before government releases it. But the law does not say so. There should be a fencing of that money. 2.5% of VAT proceeds should go directly into the fund, and that alone will be able to cushion it. Instead of depending on government.
We have to take a break quickly. We've got just 15 minutes more to go. But I'll quickly take some of the messages you've been sending to us this evening. Ketsi MTN, welcome to a new world. Nanaba, I'm happy you have my MP on your show this evening. I was beginning to think that you are against the people of Bantama. How? You know, when I come to Kumasi, I come to eat fufu in Bantama. It's just impossible to ignore. The Awachi.
Yeah, mango down Awachi.
Oh, really? Nobody has told me about that one. Okay, I'll check it out one day. Okay. And so this person who says it's good to see the MP says, you should be inviting people like him on your show because they make a lot of sense. Good evening to Honorable Agboja. Honorable Agboja, I like you a lot, but I totally disagree with you. I think the NPP did better with roads than your president has done. Obed Ahiable says, well, I'm not too sure about the number of roads the NPP constructed in the Volta region. I live here, and I think the NDC has done more. I think the debate about roads will go on and on and on. President Kufuor is a great statesman and the most influential president we've had in this country. He's God sent. It's good to hear from former President Kufuor. I'm so touched this evening listening to him. And oh my God, he's actually changed. Well, every day we all grow, don't we? I am not against anyone discussing roads, but I think the fact of the matter is there for anyone to see. The NPP has done better with roads. Mr. Ayura says that I think President Kufuor talking about investment in infrastructure is very important. The NDC is just holding a green book telling us what they have done, but we don't see. It is only in their book. Mensa Jordan says that President Mahama will be retained. He's done more than any other president in this country has done as far as education is concerned. For that, we are grateful to him. Well, let's take a break. We'll be back shortly. You're welcome back, and we have to say a big thank you to Ago FM for streaming that interview with President Kufuor on their frequency. Before we go on, I've got a couple of messages here as well. These ones are reaching me via WhatsApp. Okay, it's a pretty long one, but I'll still try to read it. Please tell the Adaklu MP that all the categories of persons he just mentioned as exempt from paying NHIS levy actual do pay because it is charged on the goods and services they patronize and pay for. The problem is the lack of funds for the NHIS. The probable mismanagement by the government, for which reason revenues meant for the NHIS are diverted into other areas and allocations to the scheme are paid much later, thereby affecting onward payments to service providers. That is what is killing the scheme. Ghanaians pay an NHIS levy on most items bought, so the scheme has no business being starved of funds. It is the transmission of the funds from central government to the scheme that is obliterating the service. I think Honorable Kufuor actually mentioned that one. Also, the halves make up barely 5 to 10% of our population. The remaining 90 or so % actually need a service. The burden on the scheme from persons who can actually afford healthcare is, well, that's a pretty interesting word. Is it minus? Okay, she's saying it's minute. MPs he refers to, for instance, are only 275. Those who need a scheme far outweigh those who don't. So that's not a problem. And he goes on to say, Honorable Kufuor is such an excellent man. It's a shame he lost his primaries. Parliament will definitely miss him. Well,
let's educate ourselves. I am a friend to the Health Committee in Parliament. As a fact, the NHIS funding is called funding gap. What it means is that even if Finance Ministry give them the last penny of what is collected through the VAT contribution, the bill they present for payment is bigger than that. That is a fact. So people must...
That is what Honorable Kufuor said.
No,
you are in power, so you've got to be innovative to find other forms.
That is the review going on. And Nana,
Okay.
I want to avoid something. You know, when you played President Kufuor's tape, I didn't think it was an attempt for us to judge him. It was a genuine reason.
Of course.
Because there are things I could have gone further to talk about, but today a statesman was interviewed, and when he says he's done a lot more projects, I ask myself. Ironically, I mean, a caller I sent a message. When you have a government that invests over $2 billion in healthcare alone, and somebody else, they can't see it, go to Ridge, go to Legon, go to even the number of hospitals built. President Kufuor should tell us, or my brother can tell us. Even in Ashanti region, President Kufuor's own hometown,
we've got just 4 minutes.
Yeah, a 500 bed, and I'm saying that no government. As I sit here, perhaps President Kufuor, President Nkrumah, has invested in infrastructure than President Mahama.
Really?
Of course. Look, Nanaba, I'm asking you. Which government invested over $2 billion to the extent that Kumasi, Ashanti region will get 4 brand new district hospitals, a brand new 500-bed regional hospital, and go to Legon, go to Reach, and I'm saying, hold on. A $250 million market.
Okay. The central market.
Even when President Kufuor was president, he goes to Kumasi every weekend. The airport there was dilapidated. It took this government to do it.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You do this shoddy work at Kumasi Airport and bill Ghanaians $28 million and you call it international airport. A shame on the nation. You call this Kumasi International Airport. You are talking about a 500 bed.
It was President Kufuor who designated it an international airport.
Please.
No, for the people to
Let
know.
him make his point, please.
No, Nana, but I'm just saying that the designation as international airport was done by President Kufuor when he didn't do even 1 millimeter of the
Thank you. You are talking about 500 bed regional hospital for Kumasi.
Yes.
Go and check. We are in Parliament. It's Eurojet project. That was initiated.
President Kufuor just told us that the N1.
Let him make his point.
Please.
Let him make his point.
2007, there were litany of Eurojet projects by this Egyptian company, and funding had been secured.
No.
Oh, please. Don't.
There was no funding
in
in 2007.
Why are you so desperate?
We've got 2 minutes to go.
Why are you so desperate?
Okay.
The point here we are drawing home is the president is all over the country doing what? Accounting tour. Yeah. I call it farewell tour. You are accounting for 3 years, 3.5 years of the president's government. Who accounts for 2009 to 2012? You are by your action. You are by your action denying President Nhis of late that he actually even came into government. Who is accounting for 2009 up to 2012? An accounting that does not go with figures, it does not go with cost, and you are sitting here telling us you've invested so much money in hospitals and all those things. Yes. Where are the monies? I'm coming.
You and I passed the Ridge Hospital 250 million.
No. That is where you get it. That's where you get the mistake.
What did
the Eurojet project? Did we pass any loan on that?
Now you said where is the money? I started giving you the money.
I'm asking you, those that were done with Ghana government's project, Ghana government's money. Yeah.
From another district hospital, it's part of the MNSI.
The Smarty Brandon.
Oh, look, let's elevate the debate.
Please.
We're talking about figures and projects.
Yes, and I'm asking you.
And then President Kufuor rightly mentioned road, and I'm saying that when we talk about investment in health, nobody. Actually, they did almost nothing.
Right.
When they were in
the spotlight is on you.
Fine, and we are proving it.
You proving what?
And
you haven't done anything.
You come from Ashanti region.
We've got to go.
I'm too proud of the market.
I'm sorry.
Where is the petroleum revenue?
The $250 million market.
Petroleum revenue. Where is it?
Well, let me tell you where is it.
All right.
350 is in EO Group's pocket.
Where is
$350 million is in the pocket of EO Group.
$3 billion.
Friday. Yeah, today is Friday. So we'll see you on Monday. Thank you. Honorable Kokofu, such a pleasure having you in the studio. I hope to see you very often. I'm happy to have you here. Yeah. And Honorable Agbeja, of course, one of my favorite people. It's good to have you here. You're too far away to exchange a handshake.
Yes, I'll do that later.
So we'll see you on Monday. Have a pleasant weekend.